All right. Hey, welcome to another show of Making Pittsburgh Healthy. Today, we have a Pittsburgh native right from Penn Hills, John Vento. John overcame kidney cancer, and he has become a Billboard magazine emerging artist. He has a nonprofit group called Together Pittsburgh, where they host special events for autism. And he's known as the chameleon in the Pittsburgh music scene. And today, we're going to jump into music and relationships and healing, depression. We deal with a lot of deep stuff in our lives, and John's going to share his story, and we are going to get some great tips and advice on how this can improve us. So John, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you like to do for fun, and what gets you up in the morning?
Well, hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Well, that's an easy one this time of the year. Those are my gardens and my flowers. I get up very early to greet my many gardens, and I water and I talk to them and I sing to them, and I try to destroy any invaders that we call weeds. They must be destroyed. And then I shoo away rabbits and deer. And so, yeah, that's what gets me up in the morning this time of the year. And with this heat that we have going on, I'm just blessed that I now have help around my place. So it's fun. But that's basically, that's my thing. Beside music, gardening is absolutely a crazy passion. It's a very expensive hobby.
Yeah, I hear you. You have a big farmhouse and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
acreage, and so do I. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of work. There's no time off. So
It's a lot of work.
let's do this
Yeah.
before we jump into the music. Tell us about, you had the kidney cancer, what you did that
Mm-hmm.
went through that, and what happened after that.
Well, first, I'm one of the lucky ones because, as you know, as a doctor, I'm sure, with kidney cancer, you really don't feel anything. I felt great, normal energy level, and then all of a sudden, around the holidays of 2016, I was urinating blood. Frankly, at first, I'm like, boy, I don't really drink this much red wine, but something's not right, you know? So I went from urinating blood to a C scan to they completely removed the kidney all within, three weeks because it was significant. Um, my surgeon, who I really, Dr. Turner, down at Mercy, he told me that tumor was there growing for over 3.5 years. So that was really just also shocking and also fast, but it went well. So they removed my kidney and no chemo, no radiation. I got really lucky. What do they call it? The margins. The margins were clear, but byproduct of all that, shortly after the surgery, I went into a really serious depression, which I've never dealt with in my life. I'm a very optimistic, mystic, kind of high energy dude that likes to get things done. And yes is always the answer. And man, I went into dark places I never even dreamed of. And that was as much a battle, if not worse, than the kidney cancer.
Wow. What
Mm-hmm.
what do you think drove that? Do you think just the fact of the cancer itself and the procedure, or was this something that you felt like, wow, something hit you, you lost your kidney, am I going to survive this? What do you think was the root
No, it
behind that?
was really physical. Um, First of all, I learned that it's very common. Post-operative depression is much more common with heart surgery. However, it happened to me. So for me, it was biological, it was physical. I never once said, oh, well, I lost my kidney. What am I going to do? Am I going to die? I'm not going to be able to function. I'm not going to be able to be involved with music again. And that never, ever crossed my mind, not for 1 second. So it was absolutely driven biologically, if you will, and chemically, right? The chemistry inside of us. And of course, the answer with traditional medicine, which I took that route initially, is, oh, well, take this pill, take that pill, take this antidepressant. And, it's like a candy store. You don't like you don't like Reese's cups, try a Hershey bar. That'll make you feel better. Oh, the Hershey bar didn't make you feel better? Have an almond joy.
Mm.
And they were just pumping these pills in me until it kept getting worse and worse. And then finally, one of my cousins stepped in and said, flush all that shit, pardon my French, flush it all down the toilet. And I started working on a holistic nature through diet, supplements, exercise. And over the course of about 2.5 months, I started to feel better
Wow.
with no antidepressants. So,
You know that and I hope that sheds some light. It's not an easy thing what you did, and so many people start going down that path. And I have a lot of patients. They're in the antidepressant medications and anxiety, and it's not something you can just one day just immediately stop unless your mind is really strong and you're working with the right doctors. But it's very prevalent in today's society, and I hope this sheds some light that there may be an answer for you in other avenues. Just you don't have to get caught up taking the drugs. So, wow, I kudos to you. That's a hard road to go down, but it's a very powerful road when you get to the root cause and rise above it. So,
yeah,
at,
it was a tricky time.
at that point, here you are. You've had the kidney removed. You go through this depression. You battle for a while. You're coming out of it, and you've been a musician. How long, John?
Well, I was a late starter. I'm 59 years old, but I'd probably have been very, very serious with my music for about 20 years now, which I like to say puts me in my, late 30s, because most guys start music when they're young kids, 10 years old, 12 years old, and you add 20 to 12, you're 32. So in dog years, music years, 35.
Yeah.
But about 20 years, I've been serious about creating original music, working with high-end musicians, professional musicians, and surrounding myself with, diving into that world.
So let me ask you this. At that point, you're coming out of this, you're going a whole holistic way. You've changed your lifestyle, your diet, what your supplements you're
Mm-hmm.
taking. How does music has to be a part of your whole life. It's your whole being. I'm sure it has to pour out of you. How did that play a role through this? And did that have to get put on hold, or did you just keep pushing through using music as a tool to help you through this?
Well, actually, the depression was so controlling that I had no interest in anything. And a friend of mine who's a songwriter, his name's Bert Laubel, he came to visit me about a month into this. And he had gone through some tough times also. And he presented me with these ideas for songs, to, new original songs, very serious lyrical content. And my reaction was, Bert, get the hell out of here. The last place that I want to be right now is in a studio. And he said, no, that's the place you need to be right now, because of where you are emotionally. We need to pursue this material, these songs. So with him pushing, kicking me in the ass, and me reluctantly going, that was the beginning of a project that 2.5 years later became Love, Lust, and Other Wreckage, an album that we released that went on to win Independent Americana Album of the Year for 2019. And there's some very serious content in there. So ironically, the depression and those emotional battles sparked some form of creativity to get back into the music. And then the album actually was the process of my recovery. It really was. The stuff we recorded early was very dark and brooding and regretful. And then as time went by and I started to heal and became involved in a really healthy, loving relationship, the songs became more optimistic. And that's why we came up with the title Love, Lust, and Other Wreckage, because it covers all the gambits of that. And it was a cool thing. It was a real cool thing.
I think that happens with a lot of artists is, wherever you are in your time, that's what you're going to express. And what's interesting, I was looking at some info up on music and how I was wondering, how does this really trigger the brain chemistry? Because it does. When I'm working out, if I play, some upbeat, fun fast music
You were going
and
to say
it
hard
changed.
rock, right?
Well, I like rock. I like a mix of
Yeah.
everything. My kids laugh at
Okay.
me, but I like something where there's some juice to it, and
I got you.
it changes my brain chemistry for the time. Like if I'm relaxing, then maybe something else. But I found too that as music enters our brain, it triggers the pleasure centers that releases the dopamine. So here you are,
Hmm.
you're in your deep state, dopamine's gone. There's nothing, there's no stimulus, there's no happy mood, anything. Serotonin, all these happy hormones are probably just dormant. And your friend says, no, you got to do this. And I took a note and I thought, man, how many of us out there, you got to listen to what John just said. He did what was necessary. His friend helped him, but he did what was necessary, not what he wanted to do, because he didn't want to go there. I'm sure it was very hard for you to do it, but it was what was needed to change your state. If you don't go beyond how we feel, what we feel like is we feel like sitting at home eating ice cream, sitting, watching TV. What we
Yeah.
need to do,
Yeah.
get our butt in the gym. And, that release of dopamine is as a neurotransmitter that makes you happy. So, and this is also associated with immune boosting antibodies and cells that protect us against bacteria and viruses. And how about this, the COVID time? Let's be listening to John's music and maybe not the dark stuff, maybe the upbeat stuff at this point. So
Yeah.
that's
That'll
pretty,
get rid of this virus.
I love it. So we're in this, so you're battling through this, you're working your way out,
Yeah.
produce an amazing album. How does your life continue to roll after this? And how is the music a part of maybe not just your journey, but you changing some lives in Pittsburgh? I'd like to get into your nonprofit too. I think this is interesting.
Yeah. Well, ironically, right after my surgery and during this rough time, we were in the planning stages together with Ronnie Esser, aka Moondog. You may have known Moondog's Club in Blawnox, PA. Moondog was one of the founders of the Pittsburgh Blues Festival at Hartwood Acres for years. I think they raised $2 or $3 million over 20 years, whatever it was. Well, and it was always for the food bank. Well, the food bank decided a few years ago not to do it anymore. And that was a big event every summer. I'm sure you're well aware of it as a music person. So a few years ago, Moondog and I formed this organization called Together Pittsburgh. And it's all about bringing music programs to folks on the autism spectrum. We have open mics where they perform. And if you look us up, you'll see we've been doing virtual open mics now where the folks send in their videos. We have drum circles, rhythm, therapeutic drum circles. We train folks that are autistic to be DJs and to go and work events like, be a DJ at a party, at a graduation. We have a golf outing this Sunday, and our DJs will be there handling the music at our dinner. And then our newest program is a scholarship program where families that have autistic children maybe don't have the resources for musical instruments, lessons, and so on, but they have a child that wants to pursue music. We'll support them financially. We'll get them instruments. We will pay for the lessons. And of course, we monitor it closely because I don't know about you, but when I was younger and I wanted to play guitar, that lasted all of like 3 months. And the guitar sat there collecting dust, So we work with professional teachers that have all the certifications to work with children, and then they keep us informed of the progress of the students. But Band Together Pittsburgh has been just incredible. It's just been, we call it magic. It's been a gift from the good Lord, not just because of these talented, beautiful musicians that we work with, but also their families and their extended families. We've created a whole community filled with love and support of each other that's been just amazing. And that has been such a blessing. I can't stress it enough, what it's meant to me and to Moondog and to everybody that's part of it.
So John, why autism and why this nonprofit? It sounds like your life is busy. Why add
my life is
another
busy.
mix,
Well, it happened quite accidentally. and I'll try to give you the story as quickly as I can because it's kind of fun. I was at Mount Carmel Cemetery in Penn Hills a few years ago visiting my mom and dad at their gravesite. And not far away was another family that I knew from Penn Hills that happened to be there at the same time. And they said to me, John, are you still involved with music? Blah, 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 blah. I said, yeah, sure. Well, my sister, who you know, has an autistic son, and he plays the drums. And he's a good drummer, but he doesn't, he's nonverbal, and he doesn't play with a lot of other kids. And we wondered if there was any way that you could kind of get him involved with things. So I did. And I had him sit in with my band, the Nied's Hotel Band, play some songs. And then that went from another guy called me and said, I have a friend whose son is a guitar player and he's autistic and maybe he can, sure, bring him in. He plays guitar. And then another guy called me, his kid played keyboards. So our band had a gig at Moondogs and Blawdogs. So the Nied's Hotel Band is playing at Moondogs. And I had these three autistic musicians come up as guests for the show. Keyboard, drums, and guitar. And it just so happened that Moondog, the owner, saw this, right? So at the end of the night, he pulled me aside and he was like, what was that all about? And I told him what I just told you. And he said, well, do you know, I have an autistic son. And this is wonderful how these guys came up and played and they were part of the band and they weren't treated any differently. And that was the birth of Band Together Pittsburgh. Excuse me. And since that time, we have regular open mics. We have all these programs I mentioned to you. We've grown tremendously over the past 3 or 4 years. I should get some water. Excuse me. So that's how it all started. Mount Carmel Cemetery in Penn Hills.
It's funny how God works sometimes, where we meet people and we don't know it at the time, but we look back and think, what, really? Yep. It was
divine intervention.
It is. And, there's a stigma. I was a special education teacher years ago. So was my wife before before I became a chiropractor. And there's a stigma with autism, with any kind of disability. Mm-hmm. And yep. The only way to break the stigma is just confront it and keep working. So what you're doing is confronting a stigma that needs to be broken down more and more. And that's awesome. That's really cool. It was funny when you were talking about, I forget what you were talking about, but it jarred my memory. Oh, your guitar where you were a kid in 3 months. Well, when I hit about 42 years old, I came home from the music store one day. I played trumpet when I was a kid, but I never played any string instruments. I came home with a banjo. And my wife looks at me and she goes, a banjo. And I said, I want to try to learn how to play this. I think it'd be really cool to sit at the fire at night because we live out in the country and play the banjo. I said, I'm not much of a singer. Maybe you could help me there. And she looked at me and she goes, is this your midlife crisis? And I said, well, if it is, it's a real cheap one.
That'd be good.
This is good.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And
a lot less dangerous too.
It is. I know. Well, it lasted about 3 months and I just didn't have time. I needed to get somebody to teach me. So it's on hold right now, but
yeah, and it's cool. A string instrument is every night. But I did want to mention to you that, when we were talking about the so-called stigma, there's 2 things I wanted to share with you. Number one, we say our folks are not disabled; they're differently abled. Mm-hmm. And if you get a chance to see our virtual open mic, which is on YouTube, we did 2 of them so far. You'll be blown away by the talent. The other thing that's occurred to me the past few years is there's some very special people in my life that deal with very debilitating situations. I have a lifelong friend who was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and it sucks. It's horrible. I have another woman who's a very dear friend and a business associate who battles MS, and it sucks. She has some bad moments. And my fiance, Michelle, has muscular dystrophy. And I've watched these people and their courage and what they get done and what they create and how they contribute. And it's inspirational. It is just, as a matter of fact, they've inspired a new song that I just recorded called High Wire that I'm going to release in about a month because I look at their life and it's a balancing act. Mm. And I had this concept for a song, they walk that high wire every day in order to function and contribute. And It's just, like you said, it is a stigma, but on the other hand, I see what they accomplish and how they inspire other people. So,
Yeah. When we all have differences, and I think we just have to get beyond that. And something you were saying about your friends with, we don't know where we're heading with our health, but what we can control some things. And what you said about the doctor who told you your tumor had grown about for 3.5 years before you even
yeah,
ever had a symptom.
I had no
And
idea.
people listening, please listen to this. Is the disease can develop in your body very slowly. Some cancers take 10 years to be symptomatic or come up on a scan or a test. And we tend to think because we're okay, because we feel good, I don't have to go down what John did. I don't have to do the supplements and the diet change because I'm okay. And I look at it and say, no way. My dad died when he was 50 of heart failure. And I remember drawing a line in the sand. I was a student at Slippery Rock studying health and phys ed. And I drew a line in the sand that said, I am not going to die from heart disease. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wasn't going to. And the first step is being aware of, hey, this can happen to all of us. And if we wait for a diagnosis, many times it's too late. John I don't believe he was lucky. I think, God it wasn't your appointed time. You have great things coming. You're doing a lot of great stuff. But we can't just take this lightly. We've got to start implementing these strategies now. And what you've done with your life and what you're doing is you're an inspiration. I'm sure you're an inspiration to all the people you work with. So from there, tell us a little bit more about the group, what you're doing now in the city of Pittsburgh, how you're inspiring people, who you work with. This is exciting.
Well, I don't know if I inspire other people, but maybe, first, I'm part of a business right here in the Murraysville, Monroeville area, CIS office installers. And we started back in 1983, and I'm so blessed to be surrounded by an incredible group of teammates, and we have a great company. We're approaching, it's hard to believe, 37 years. I was 21 when we started this business. So, there's a lot of lives to touch in each aspect, whether it's business, whether it's social, whether it's music, family. And I think if we just treat everybody with respect and kindness and love, and I'm not saying you roll over. I mean, if there's issues, they've got to be addressed directly, and there's got to be discipline. So I have my business and other businesses I'm involved with, of course, my music, with stuff I kind of do. I drift away on my own, but I have the Nied Hotel Band, which has been wonderful, and surrounded by 6 other great musicians on that end. And then, my passion right now with music is certainly Band Together Pittsburgh, and creating the whole COVID thing has put it all to a grinding halt. I mean, we had so much planned, live performance wise, and DJ and drum circles, and but I'm not alone. All of us have been crushed, right? So I think we even have social ideas to move forward with Band Together to get our folks that are on the spectrum integrated and create a community where they have friends. How about that for a concept? We have a young lady who had no friends. Now she has a whole family. She didn't know anybody, and that's that's a big part of what we're trying to create.
So if they're listening and they're saying, "Wow, I have somebody that I know that's on the spectrum," and they are a musician, not only can they get an opportunity to perform and use their talent, but they get an opportunity to be around like-minded people with the same interests. And that relationships and family, I think, and this probably helped you as well, pull you through tough times. And
Absolutely.
If we don't have that, that's health. If we stay isolated, and we've been forced to do that right now, and I thank God my office has been able to be open. I haven't felt isolated. I go home to my farm, and my cows and my sheep and chickens and goats, they're not isolated.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding in that fashion. So that's an amazing thing you're doing. The relationships alone to pull their I guess talents and their lifestyle up into a whole new level that may not have ever even been directed. So
Yeah, well, the relationship aspect is more important. The social and relationship aspect is way more important than the music. A third of the folks that come and attend our different events don't even perform. They don't play an instrument. They don't sing. They come to have fun. And they come to support and listen and clap and dance. So it's yeah, the music is the centerpiece, but as you mentioned earlier, it's the power of music that becomes the element that brings everybody together. But that doesn't mean you have to be a performer to be included in our programs. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite.
it's funny. I still, when I'll hear certain songs come on the radio, it brings me back to high school or a sporting event,
Sure.
something, and it triggers. I get excited. I get pumped, and my kids laugh. I have a convertible. I put the music on. I'll put some kind of bebop and fun music,
Sure.
and they're just sort of like, "Oh, Dad, he's crazy." I'm like, "Well, I'm having fun. I'm going to have
All
fun."
that matters, right?
It elevates my mood, and if it elevates my mood, I get more done. And if I
Yep.
get more done, I'm more effective for not only my family, my community, my patients, but the world. And I like what you had to say too. You threw this in where discipline. We
Well,
have to be disciplined, and that's
yeah,
something that is, I think, taken lightly, and it hurts to be disciplined, but it hurts to live in misery or be mediocre too. And I always tell my patients and on these podcasts, to be healthy takes a lot of work. To do what you're doing takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, but the reward oversees all that stuff. I'm sure you wouldn't do it. And that's the same with going to the gym, working out, taking supplements,
yep,
making a fresh salad for lunch instead of just getting something fast food.
yeah,
That takes work. But when you wake up the next morning and you don't have joint pain and you can move and play and perform and play with your kids or grandkids, hey, to me, that's worth it. And
yes, it is.
I love what you're doing, and you are an inspiration. I think anyone that is out in the community doing what you're doing, we all play a part of this. It's not gonna, we don't have to have millions of dollars to change the world. We can change the world by
Yeah,
one song at a time, one group, and one event at a time. And if we all do that collectively, boy, we're going to make this place better. So
yep.
let me ask you this: what are your favorite styles in music besides your own? What do you like?
Well,
What gets you pumped?
I have, I'm 59 years old, so I can put you into a time period. My favorite all-time music is Motown, without a doubt. The great Motown artist and the soul music of that era. But on the other, I turn on. Yesterday, I was nothing but Frank Sinatra for well over 2 hours. I was driving around to appointments. And there's a lot of contemporary artists like Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga, and I like everything. I can't say that I like the rap stuff. I don't, especially some of the lyrics I find to be not positive in any way, shape, or form. I don't like country music. Forgive me, country music people. To me, it's, as a musician, it's a formula. I mean, it's a dirty little secret that, you know, there's a formula to country music and they just follow it. But no, I classic rock. A few years ago, Bob Seger was in town. I enjoyed that, and took the kid. My daughter and I went to New York to see Carole King's Broadway show, Beautiful, which was phenomenal. Listen, if it's good quality music with words that are meaningful, I'm in, and I
Yeah,
respect and admire it. I admire so many local artists. We have really a lot of great bands and a lot of great artists here in Pittsburgh, acoustic artists and so on. They're just phenomenal.
yeah, I love it. And there was something that I was looking up some info on just music and music therapy, that this improves any invasive procedure. So people going in, this is interesting, and I'm gonna tie it back to what you just said, that when people are going in for colonoscopies or knee surgery, those who listen to music before their procedure had reduced anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
reduced the need of sedatives. It also had helped people recover from stroke, traumatic brain injury. So, and then they said, this can reduce stress, pain and symptoms, depression, cognitive skills, Also neurogenesis, which is the brain's ability to produce neurons. Isn't that cool? So this is really neat. And then it ended with, what's the best type of music? So it's like, John doesn't like rap music. So if you listen to rap music, I'm with you. That I like a little country, not much, but
Okay.
if I listen to rap music, it irritates me. If I listen to classical, I tried classical for a while because I thought, hey, this is good. This is good for the mind. You hear all this. It's good for the mind. It drove me insane. I wanted to like kill somebody. And I'm like, this isn't working. So I read this article and it said, what is the best type of music? And it says, it turns out whether it's rock, jazz, hip hop, classical, your gray matter prefers the same music you do. So your brain responds to what you like in your heart.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, good. I don't have to listen to classical. I'll listen to what I like.
That's
so
right.
that's interesting.
Well, I had a friend that went through a rough battle with breast cancer a few years ago. And I took her to one of the procedures. And they told her, they said, we want you to bring 2 of your favorite CDs. Now, she was a Beatles fanatic. So they actually put the Beatles CDs in their system while, all the machines and all that stuff that's intimidating. They put beautiful set of headphones on her. And she went through Abbey Road, and I think she brought Rubber Soul, 2 great Beatles records. And they told her that was part of the procedure. They wanted her to bring her music. So it just proves everything you just said.
Yeah, I love it. Man. I
Yep.
love hearing that because, it's one thing doesn't make it. We need multiple facets to our health. And, a lot of my patients say they get adjusted, but they don't exercise, they eat right. I'm like, you have to do it all.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, what is it all? I'm like, I don't know. You just have to do more. So
Yep.
This is fun. So John, where can we're going to have all in your show notes, we're going to have all your contact information and
Sure.
Where they can find you and your nonprofit group. This is really exciting, but where can they find you if they're listening? And what you're doing with your nonprofit?
Well, the nonprofit Band Together Pittsburgh is the website is bandtogetherpgh.org, and we are a registered 501c3. Of course, in all the social media outlets, we are Band Together Pittsburgh, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not up on all that stuff, but we have volunteers that are so wonderful that are. And then in my world, John Vento, Vento, my quote solo music, which is a weird word. I hate that word because there's no such thing as solo music. But music that I do away from the band is on johnvento.com. And then my band that I'm with most of the time is the Nied's Hotel Band. And that's Nieds, Nied's Hotel Band. We're named after the pub in Lawrenceville called Nied's Hotel that has been around since 1941. So that's how that came about.
That's cool. And if you're listening, don't wreck your car trying to write this down. We'll have all these shows in the show notes, but just in case, you're hearing it and you want to go check it out, and you don't get to the show notes. So I really enjoyed our conversation. I think this sheds, you're welcome. I think this sheds some light too on the challenges that we all face, and we can utilize not only relationships and supplements and doctors to help us naturally, but we can utilize music. And if we combine it all together, I always say the more we do, the more avenues we take as natural as we can, the better chance we're going to have. And life is a journey, but we can have fun. So John, any fun, crazy plans for the future? I always end with this question. I'm always waiting for something wild.
Well, how about this? I'm getting married. That's
there
big.
You go.
That's fun and crazy, right?
That is.
Single for almost 18 years. No, between my music, my gardening, and Band Together, my business here at CIS, I got plenty to do. We do want to take a historical journey, assuming they don't tear down all the statues and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We plan in the fall to take I love going to Gettysburg and Monticello and places like that. So
cool.
Beyond that, I'm a pretty boring guy. I don't do any skydiving. I don't do I don't ride a motorcycle. I'm pretty boring. So
well, it's funny when I always wait for something, and every guest I have on, it always goes back to our passion. It's like, wow, I got to write another book. I got to produce another album. I got to help these kids. And I said to one guest, I said, I'm waiting for somebody to say they're going to jump out of an airplane. She started laughing. She goes, I'm going to jump out of an airplane. I said, you're just saying that. She plans to jump.
Yeah,
So,
that would not be me.
uh,
No, I'm happy just being at my place out in West here.
uh,
I'm good.
I hear you. So, John, I appreciate you being on the show today. This
Thank
was
you.
exciting. And please go check out John, not only his organizations, what he's doing for autism, but check out his music. It's good stuff. I love it. I was on listening to it. And I like this. It's kind of a mix. I saw it as a mix between like some blues and rock. And I even heard like a little bit of John Mellencamp out of the one song.
Yeah, that's an influence. I'm a
Okay.
Mellencamp fan.
So I'm glad,
So
I'm glad I
thank you.
didn't like blow that.
I take that as a tremendous compliment. Thank you.
Good. Well, I love it. So, John, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.